Developing right now on Morning News Now, a devastation across the Midwest. This morning, entire neighborhoods underwater after days of downpours in several states.
We are really looking at unprecedented times right now. It's just been difficult to predict what's going to happen when levels are this high, when we have no history with it.
Now, officials bracing for another round of severe storms. We have the latest. And the heat goes on across America with tens of millions of people waking up to more heat alerts and a triple-digit forecast in several cities. We have a team tracking it all. Also this morning, freedom for Julian Assange after years behind bars. Overnight, the WikiLeaks founder released from a British prison as part of a plea deal with the Justice Department. We'll break down the deal, plus where Assange is now and what happens next. And a classroom controversy now heading to court. A group of parents in Louisiana filing a legal challenge against the state law requiring schools to display the 10 Commandments in class. More on the case that's raising questions about religious rights in America. Also, it's a safe haven for aging LGBTQ people. Joe takes us inside a community housing complex right here in New York City that's offering much more than just a place to live.
It is a huge issue for LGBTQ seniors who are aging out now and dealing with discrimination and trying to find a place where they can live with their loved one. We'll take a look at one of the solutions. It's right here in New York.
I love it. Cannot wait.
Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Slaughter. We get started this morning with the severe storms drenching parts of the Midwest. Tens of millions are at risk for extreme weather today after multiple states experienced flash flooding due to rising water levels. One river in Iowa rose so high it shattered the previous record by more than 7 feet.
As the middle of the country braces for more potential flooding, the southern part is still getting scorched. The heat index will be in the triple digits, reaching as high as 110 in some places, with no relief in sight. Our team is tracking this extreme weather. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman is standing by with the forecast, but we start with NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster, who's on the ground in Iowa.
Morning, guys. Well, overnight, President Biden and approving a disaster declaration for certain counties here in Iowa. And when you look at the devastation behind me, you can almost assume that that disaster declaration is only going to expand. Just look at this neighborhood road, a residential street, and you see it's completely covered by water. You go all the way down the street, you see that stop sign there, and that gives you a sense of the depth of the water. I talked to the fire department here yesterday, and they were going door to door by boat, knocking on doors, making sure that people in these homes, a lot of elderly people, they say, were out of here. They rescued yesterday alone about 16 people. And for some context, we are about a quarter of a mile away from the closest point of the river. Another way to put that is we're more than 400 yards, 400 football or 4 football fields from the closest point of the river, and you still see how widespread this flooding is. And look, it's not just Iowa, but you have many states dealing with this threat from flooding. South Dakota, we talked about that train bridge collapse connecting South Dakota to Iowa. And then in Minnesota, a dam there is on imminent risk, is facing imminent risk of failure. The sheriff's office there saying that a western support structure of that dam has already partially failed. They're saying that it's not a huge risk for the homes downstream. They say they alerted everyone who is in need of potential evacuation who is downstream from that dam. But that is something that we're continuing to watch, some crazy video out of Minnesota. But back here in Iowa, you see the water, and the key thing here is there is no sign that this water will be receding anytime soon. And that's because the river where this water is coming from, it crests at such a historically high level, 7 feet above the previous historic level, that it's not going to even get to that historic point until Thursday, not going to get below flood stage until later this weekend. And unfortunately, we know there is more rain later in the forecast. So a lot of pain for folks. This water is going to be here for a long time and a lot of misery to come. Back to you.
All right, Jack, thank you so much. For more on the extreme weather, let's bring in meteorologist Michelle Grossman.
Hey, Michelle, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. And we were looking at dangerous storms early this morning. Very, very active. We've been watching this all night long, and you can see on radar where that heavy rain is falling. You're seeing those really bright colors, the reds, the oranges, the yellows, even some pinks popping in, indicating that we may be seeing a little hail as well. Lots of lightning with these storms, hearing the thunder early this morning. And we have severe thunderstorm watches. That is where you see the yellow. Severe thunderstorm warnings are in the orange, and this line is moving off to the east and also to the south. That's this morning. Then we're going to see another round as we go throughout the afternoon hours. So this morning severe storms rumbling across the Midwest. We're watching them now. That second round severe develops this afternoon, along with this front moving. Where you see this yellow here, the shading, that is the likeliest chance of seeing some very strong storms. 31 million people at risk for really large hail. When you see 2 inches, what does that mean? It's about softball-sized hail. So that causes damage on its own. Winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Brief tornadoes are possible, so places like Springfield, St. Louis, Chicago, Omaha could see some very strong storms on this Tuesday. Then tomorrow, we'll watch this front move off to the east and also to the south. Thunderstorms cluster from the Gulf Coast all the way to the northeast. We could see some locally heavy downpours with any of these storms. That's the same story for today. So we are looking at flooding early this morning. Tomorrow, that number grows to 43 million at risk. Again, we're going to see damaging winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. That's going to be the main threat. Some isolated large hail and a few tornadoes are possible. Scranton, New York City, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, D.C. So all the major cities along the I-95 corridor could see some very strong storms tomorrow. Lots of rainfall with this. Again, where you see those darker colors, that's where we're looking at the chance of locally 4 inches or more over the next 2 days. Concerned about flash flooding, especially in this darker blue area, Peoria, Des Moines, Kansas City, because we're going to see rainfall rates of 2 inches per hour. It's warm, it's humid, so any of these downpours could bring down a lot of rain. Same story as we go throughout tomorrow. Notice how far this reaches in terms of that flash flood risk, all the way from New England into the Tennessee Valley and even further than that. So that's the big story today in terms of We're also looking at intense heat. We're going to see temperatures into the 90s, into the triple digits once again. And then as we go towards the weekend, we're looking at showers and storms from New England all the way down to the southeast. And we're going to be hot and humid still. So again, temperatures in the hundreds. Even if it isn't at 100 degrees, you factor in the humidity, it may feel like 110 in some spots today. Back to you both.
All right.
Ooh, 110.
Yeah.
Michelle, thank you so much.
Sure. All right. Well, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is bringing his 14-year-long legal battle with the U.S. to a close today. He is expected to plead guilty to one conspiracy charge as part of a deal with the Justice Department.
The DOJ says Assange will appear in federal court in the U.S. territory of the Northern Mariana Islands tonight to enter his plea. Assange will then return to Australia as a free man after serving nearly 6 years in a British prison. He was originally facing 18 charges in the U.S., stemming from one of the worst leaks of classified documents in American history. Those documents included classified reports from both the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley joins us from Washington with the details. Ryan, good morning. So let's walk through some of these details. What was included in the agreement to release Assange from prison, and what happens to the other 17 charges against him?
Well, this came about pretty quickly. It only got announced last night, about 24 hours before this hearing is set to take place. It'll take place in local time Wednesday morning, but effectively 7 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time tonight. So in about 12 hours is when this will all unfold. And under the plea deal, he's going to be going home after this. If the judge agrees to the conditions here, he will be set off back to Australia, which is apparently welcoming him. There's a statement from some government officials there saying that this was time to bring this saga to an end. And this is really, we're talking about 14 years this has unfolded, and that's when initially in 2010, early in the Obama's first term, when a lot of these documents were published, and there was this huge backlash about them. Of course, the individual who leaked all of those documents, Chelsea Manning, was subsequently sentenced to a military term and then had her sentence commuted by former President Obama at the tail end of his term just before Donald Trump took office. So this has really been unfolding, for more than a decade now, and those charges were eventually brought against Assange early in the Trump era. So this is something that has now been over 5 years now in custody since Julian Assange is spent in that prison. He'll get time and credit for all of that time served under this plea deal here. And really, I think it was going to be tough to to figure out how to work something like this out, given that he had been there for that long of an amount of time already. And even if they had brought him to the United States, there's a chance that he could have gotten a very similar sentence if he had brought this to trial, Joe.
Hey, Ryan and Savannah, so he's denied any wrongdoing for all of this, right?
Under the plea deal, though, he's going to have to plead guilty to the terms, and that's what's laid out, right? This has all been pretty spelled out. He hasn't formally said this yet, but court paperwork has been filed saying that there is this plea deal in place. So apparently there's been discussion from his partner who said that he may go for a pardon on this, because there's a lot of questions that are raised by these charges being brought forward in the first place, right? Because he was sort of in the role of a publisher there. So you do have a number of free speech groups, some press advocacy groups who worry about the use of the Espionage Act against an institution like this, and sort of how you would differentiate between a group like WikiLeaks and a more common media organization. So there are some tricky First Amendment questions that are raised by this that probably aren't going to be played out in court now, because this is all going to be sort of passed behind us. This is sort of turning, I think, a page for Julian Assange and putting this 5 or almost 6-year prison term that he already served in London behind him.
All right, Ryan Riley. Ryan, thank you.
Now to the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas and the continued push to free more hostages from Gaza. In a recent TV interview, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he would only agree to a, quote, partial ceasefire deal that would not end the war. It comes as Israel's defense minister visits Washington for key meetings. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley has the latest from Jerusalem.
Well, Israel's assault on the Gaza Strip was continuing yesterday. Some 27 people were killed in various attacks throughout the Gaza Strip, including on 2 schools. Now, of those 27 people killed, 10 were members of the family of Ismail Haniyeh. He's considered the political leader of Hamas, and one of those was his sister. And we've also heard from the Israeli Defense Forces chief of staff. He said that the operations in Rafah, in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, were winding up, and that the IDF had managed to destroy many of the main fighting bodies of Hamas that had been resisting Israeli attacks there. And so this is something that we've heard from Benjamin Netanyahu himself just a couple of days ago, that the more intensive phase of the operations were winding up. And so Israel might be able to concentrate more of its forces on the continued and more intense fighting that has ramped up over the border between Israel and Lebanon, specifically with that other Iran-backed group, Hezbollah, which has been trading fire with the Israelis ever since October 7th. Now, as we're hearing that, there's been discord between Washington and Jerusalem. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, we heard from him once again yesterday. This time, he was talking to the full Israeli parliament, the Knesset. He walked back some comments that he had made on Sunday, in which he said that he'd be willing to make a partial deal with Hamas. This time, he specified that he would not end the fighting in the Gaza Strip until all of the remaining dozens of hostages were finally released. Now, we've also been seeing Yoav Gallant. He's the Israeli Minister of Defense, making the rounds in Washington. He spoke with the Secretary of State. He spoke with Bill Burns, the head of the CIA. But his main topic, amidst all of these other subjects that he's been discussing, including the action on the Northern Front and what's going on in Gaza Strip, plans for a day after Hamas is finally defeated, he's trying to shore up and repair this frayed relationship between Washington and Jerusalem that Benjamin Netanyahu's comments over the past week have really damaged. Now, whether or not we see this finally repaired, we've been hearing about this for months, that the Biden administration and Netanyahu are falling out. That might not be up to Yoav Gallant, and it might not be up to Washington. We still have to wait to hear more from Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister himself, on whether or not he's going to continue to assail and scold Washington, or whether or not he's going to try to make amends.
All right, Matt, thank you.
A group of Louisiana parents is challenging that state's controversial new law, which requires all public schools to display the 10 Commandments in the classroom.
Those parents are backed by several civil rights groups, including the American Civil Liberties Union. The lawsuit comes less than a week after Governor Jeff Landry signed into law, making Louisiana the first state to have Christian commandments in classrooms in over 40 years. NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas joins us now on this. Danny, good morning. So the parents in this case are arguing that this requirement violates their First First Amendment right to raise their children in any religion they want. How strong a case do they have here?
3 years ago, I would have told you an unbelievably strong case. The bottom line is, for almost half a century, the rule has been that you can't have excessive entanglement between the government and religion. But in 2022, you may remember that football coach case who was praying at halftime, or excuse me, after the game at the midfield of the football field. Well, the Supreme Court actually announced a new test. So instead of looking to the traditional Lemon test, which looks at entanglement with government and religion, they instead look to history and traditions. Is there a history and tradition of this kind of, I guess I would say education or dialogue, or are the Ten Commandments part of American history and traditions? And the proponents of this law would argue that what is more historical, what is more part of American tradition than the Ten Commandments? And that really there is the thrust of the legal argument on both sides.
So, I mean, the Governor Landry, has basically said, bring it on. He wants a legal challenge. His argument is that the commandments contain valuable lessons for students. What is the defense for the state of Louisiana here? And do you think this one makes it to the Supreme Court?
I think it is highly likely to make it to the Supreme Court. And Louisiana's defense is going to be, look at the 2022 case, Kennedy, which was that football coach case. It rewrote the test that we apply. And yes, were we still applying the old Lemon test, we, Louisiana, would surely lose. But that's no longer the test. And in a way, it almost parallels the new firearms test. You look at the history and traditions of firearm legislation. Similarly, you look at whether or not the Ten Commandments are part of American history and tradition. So Louisiana has a shot here, whereas a few years ago I would have told you no chance, no how.
Let's switch over to the Supreme Court. So they're wrapping up their term. There are several outstanding cases, but we are already kind of getting a glimpse at the next term. The court has agreed to hear oral arguments regarding the Tennessee ban on gender-affirming care. What's at stake there?
So essentially, the argument here is going to be that parents have a constitutional right to direct the health care of their children, and that this law violates what's called equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment. And that happens generally when you have the government or legislation that treat groups of people differently. And the key is going to be whether or not that group is a protected class. And it's only been relatively recently that members of this community have been viewed as a protected class. Historically, they were not. But the key to an equal protection challenge is your group a member of a protected class? If I am of the group of people wearing gray suits, well, that is not a member of a protected class. You have to be a traditional member of that class, which is usually based on race, gender, the recognized protected classes, of which members of this group have only become really considered a protected class in the very recent history.
This decision will have huge ramifications because many states have passed similar laws to this, so we'll see what happens. Danny, thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. Today is the third and final day of court hearings related to the classified documents case involving former President Trump.
It was a tense day inside federal court yesterday. The judge presiding over the case reprimanded a prosecutor from special counsel Jack Smith's office over a proposed gag order on the former president. Mr. Trump pleaded not guilty last year to charges related to his alleged mishandling of classified documents. Let's bring in NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney. Ken, good morning. So this is a case that has no trial date set. It's unclear when the case could even go to trial. Yesterday's hearing ended without a ruling. Walk us through what happened in court that actually irritated this judge.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. Yeah, at issue during that afternoon contentious hearing was a question of whether the judge should impose a gag order on Donald Trump and instruct him to stop mischaracterizing the FBI's authorization for use of force during the Mar-a-Lago search. I'm not sure that we should read much into the judge's exasperation with David Harbaugh, the prosecutor. She told him to watch his tone. Those two have been had a tense relationship for many months now in this case, and Harbaugh can almost often fails to hide his frustration with the judge as she puts the prosecution through their paces. One thing that I can say, though, is that she asked many more skeptical questions of the prosecutors during that hearing than she did of Trump's attorneys, and she did seem skeptical and resistant to the idea that she should impose a gag order on Donald Trump as he's running for president. The special counsel's office says lives are at stake here, that FBI agents are in danger because of the rhetoric that Trump engaged in, the lies, essentially, where he said Joe Biden authorized the FBI to assassinate me. That's not true. That's not what happened. And special counsel wants the judge to tell him to stop saying that, but it's not clear that that is going to happen, guys.
Kent, let's talk about what we can expect today. Judge Cannon is set to hear arguments over the Trump team's motion to dismiss evidence retained during that raid at Mar-a-Lago 2 years ago. Tell us about that.
So this is obviously, as you said, the third day in a series of hearings, 3 days of hearings here, among many hearings in this case, which is a reason we're not close to a trial date. This one is about something that's already been decided by a judge in Washington, D.C. The question of whether Donald Trump's lawyers' notes and records and even testimony can be included in this case. The judge in D.C. invoked what's known as the crime fraud exception, because obviously there's attorney-client privilege, right? Normally you can't see communications between clients and lawyers. But in this case, the prosecution obtained it because they showed a judge, they demonstrated to a judge in Washington, D.C., that the attorney, Evan Corcoran, was engaged in conversations with Donald Trump that were in furtherance of the alleged conspiracy to obstruct justice in this case. Well, Judge Cannon is going to look at all this again, and she's going to decide whether that evidence should be excluded in this case. It's another example of why legal analysts say this case is taking so long, because she wants to look at everything, every matter in dispute. She is granting the defense a hearing and allowing them to try to make their case. And by the way, if she tries to exclude this evidence, they will appeal. The prosecution will appeal. But that would be a big blow to the prosecution, because this is some powerful evidence.
All right. Ken Delanian with the latest. Ken, thank you so much.
Well, voters in 4 states are heading to the polls today to cast ballots in primary elections. In New York's 16th congressional district, that's just outside of New York City, 2 Democrats are facing off in what's shaping up to be the most expensive primary on record. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale joins us now from Mount Vernon, New York, with more on what we can expect today. Hey, Ali, welcome to New York. Good morning.
Thank you, Savannah. It's been waiting for us, as our friend Taylor Swift likes to say. And you know what? So has this race, because, Savannah, it's been on our radar for a while, in large part because it is a microcosm of the battle within the Democratic Party that's been happening for years, but also over the Israel-Gaza war. We're seeing that as a central issue in this race, which you mentioned, the insane amount of ad spending, more than $24 million spent, which means that you guys in New York City have probably seen these ads for this race, whether you want to or not. It has been intense, it has been vitriolic, and that's not just me saying that. The voters told me that too. Watch.
It's definitely very tense.
Extremely contentious.
Half an hour outside the city that never sleeps. A New York primary keeping Democrats up at night.
Yeah. He's nowhere to be found. Go ahead. Get out of here, man. You're nowhere to be found.
Congressman Jamal Bowman's battle for a third term is now the most expensive and arguably most intense of the cycle.
Do you see why he's an ineffective congressman?
Why?
He argues. No, because he
argues. The people in here understand passion.
Bowman is one of Congress's most vocal critics of the Israeli government. Is that the central issue in this race as you see it, though?
It is, because he was recruited by AIPAC to run against me because I called for a permanent ceasefire very early on.
The issue of Palestine and Israel is on the ballot here.
Longtime Westchester County Executive George Latimer saw it as one of several reasons to mount a challenge.
The fire alarm incident was inexplicable.
Bowman pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor for pulling a fire alarm in Congress during a controversial vote last year.
His response to October 7th was yet the next, type of thing. He is attacking me as if somehow my position is outside of the mainstream. It's his position with some of the squad members that's outside the mainstream.
Record-breaking sums spent here on ads. Pro-Israel groups backed by AIPAC make up more than $14 million of it.
Jamal Bowman has his own agenda, and he's hurting New York.
All in a diverse district with a significant Jewish population. Bowman's not the first progressive with pro-Palestinian views to face a primary.
It's not good enough to send bombs to Israel and send Band-Aids to Gaza.
Congresswoman Summer Lee won her Pennsylvania race earlier this year. This race highlighting and hardening Democratic divides. Locally with former Congressman Mondaire Jones.
George is the clear choice to represent New York's 16th congressional district.
Nationally, it's a 2016 redux. Hillary Clinton's endorsed Latimer. Bernie on the stump for Bowman.
I don't know how much of a heavy hitter Hillary Clinton is, with all due respect.
Bowman boasts the backing of his party's top congressional leaders and prominent progressives like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Still, it's wars abroad that could have the most impact here at home.
If you win, what
If you win, you say that. What does it say to the Democratic Party writ large?
I think it just means that the people can beat the money every time. The many can beat the money every time.
So we will see if Congressman Bowman is right that he wins tonight. In my understanding, in talking to sources and operatives who are close to both of these races, it is a long shot for him. And many people look at Bowman's district as a place where the first member of the squad, the progressive movement that came into Congress in 2019, could see themselves shown the door from the job that he's had for several terms now. But look, this is a vitriolic race, not just between the candidates, not just on the airwaves, but also all the way down to the voters. You heard it there just casually in conversation. But if you look at some of these counties, up in Hastings-on-Hudson, part of this district, they had to actually post on their social media account, the town, asking residents to stop messing with each other's political signs, stop taking each other's political signs. It just goes to show that we usually talk about the grassroots as a way to get out the vote. No, at the grassroots level here, people have internalized this race, and it is extremely tense. Still, it's going to teach us something when results come in late tonight about what direction this party wants to go, both here in New York, but also potentially writ large across the country. Savannah, Joe?
All right, Ali Vitale, thank you so much.
Florida hockey fans are breathing a sigh of relief this morning and celebrating. Their Florida Panthers are waking up as Stanley Cup champions for the first time in franchise history. After falling short in the Stanley Cup finals last year, the Panthers finally got their sweet taste of victory. They outlasted the Edmonton Oilers 2-1 in a nail-biting Game 7 on home ice last night. The Panthers spoiled what was nearly a historic comeback for the Oilers, who stormed back from a 3-0 deficit in the series. Even in defeat, the Oilers star forward Connor McDavid was named most valuable player of the playoffs after a record-breaking postseason. All right, much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, you've heard of doom scrolling. How about doom spending? We're going to break down the psychology behind buying things when you're feeling down and how you can break that habit.
Up first, though, after the break, the surf community mourning the death of a pro surfer after a shark attack. How his passing is shedding light on the dangers in the ocean. We'll be right back.
We're back with more details surrounding that shark attack in Hawaii that took the life of a former professional surfer and well-known actor. Tamayo Perry was killed Sunday while surfing off the northern shore of Oahu. A longtime friend describes Perry as one of a kind in a sport surrounded by driven competitors and threatening sea. NBC News correspondent Stephanie Gosk has more.
Born and raised in Hawaii, Tamayo Perry surfed off of Oahu thousands of times.
He was a professional at the highest level in surfing.
On Sunday afternoon, the 49-year-old was attacked by a shark while surfing near Goat Island. According to officials, he was bitten multiple times.
Honolulu Ocean Safety responded via jet ski and brought the surfer here to shore.
But there was nothing they could do, officials say. The injuries were too severe. Jason Bitzer, a close friend, says Perry was salt of the earth and a man of faith.
He's just a genuinely good person. Like, there's no other way to put it. He's a good person, and he cares about people, and he really just kind of embodies aloha.
Perry was a world-class surfer who also had the occasional movie role in Pirates of the Caribbean and Blue Crush.
Oh, it's pretty nuts. Broke my board.
Most recently, he worked as a lifeguard at Hawaii's famous Bonsai Pipeline, one of the most demanding and dangerous lifeguarding jobs in the world.
What does it say about your skill in the water if you're a lifeguard on that beach?
Just simply put, there's no higher mountain to climb than being a lifeguard at Pipeline.
Shark attacks are rare in Hawaii, averaging nearly 8 a year. There have been only 5 fatalities in the last decade.
If this could happen to Tamayo, it could happen to anyone. He's the most competent waterman I know. He was doing what he loved, and he was surfing at a spot that he grew up and cherished since childhood.
And very few people understand, as well as he did, how dangerous the ocean can be. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
For more on this topic, we are joined now by Gavin Naylor. He's the director of the Florida Program for Shark Research at the Florida Museum of Natural History. Gavin, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. So, shark attacks in Hawaii, extremely rare, as we heard there. But when you hear a story like this, what do you want people to know about sharks and why these attacks occasionally happen?
Well, globally, shark attacks are incredibly rare events.
we have between 60 and 70 bites on people a year throughout the world. And of those, usually about 5 to 10 are fatal. So your chance of dying as a consequence of a shark attack are very, very remote. But when it happens, it's always in the news, and it reminds people that the ocean is a foreboding place. And there's nobody that knows that more than surfers. They see sharks all the time, and they're advocates of the environment and ocean conservation, and they see sharks all the time. So they're a group of people that are well aware of the dangers that they face all the time they're in the water.
Earlier this year, while rare, reports are showing that there was a spike in these unprovoked shark attacks worldwide, as well as an uptick in fatalities last year. Walk us through when we see a headline like this, these growing numbers, how to keep in context that it is rare, and what does this mean? Do you think this continues? This keeps going up?
That's a good question. So the first thing is we don't really worry too much about the variation that we see in bites from year to year. It's a stochastic process, and some years have more than others. And in fact, globally, we're on trend. Last year was a little bit disconcerting because the number of fatalities was quite high, largely because of bites in Australia. And the Australian white shark population is fairly stable, if not increasing a little bit. But Australians are always in the water, love to find new surfing spots, and are well aware of the dangers. But they often go to surf breaks, which may or may not be close to seal colonies, and they're mistaken by white sharks for seals.
I think when you hear a story like the one that we just played, what just happened with Tamayo losing his life, somebody who was as proficient as he was in understanding the ocean and understanding safety, even working as a lifeguard, people can think, gosh, if it can happen to him, it can happen to anyone. So how can people reduce their risk of being attacked by a shark?
You're absolutely correct. It can happen to anyone. But it's good to keep in mind that surfers spend a huge amount of time in the water. Some professional surfers are in the water 6-7 hours a day. So the probability of them encountering sharks goes up. That said, there are some things you can do to take an already very low risk and make it even lower. You don't want to swim where you see bait fish in the water or you see people fishing for fish, because often fish on a line, if it's an angler, will struggle and they'll generate vibrations, and that brings in predatory fishes like sharks. We generally tell people not to go in the water at dawn or at dusk. Often these changing light conditions mean changing patterns of behavior for sharks. Nocturnal sharks tend to sort of wake up and prowl around at dusk, and diurnal sharks tend to sort of become more active at sunrise. That said, some shark bites happen in the middle of the day. So everything you do is not a guarantee, but it just minimizes the risk, an already low risk, I should say. So people should continue to enjoy the oceans and be cautious. But if you see bait fish jumping out the water, it's because something's chasing them. And, I encourage my kids to go in the water all the time. But if I see bait fish jumping out, I say, well, probably not a good idea. Let's just wait half an hour until they go away.
Gavin Naylor, thank you very much. Really good tips there. We appreciate it.
Coming up is a place to call home and so much more. When we come back, I'm going to take you inside an affordable housing complex here in New York City, offering community and a truly safe space to aging LGBTQ elders, including couples.
Plus, here we are. That's the message from the transgender community in a new ad campaign. More on their push for acceptance. Up next, you're watching Morning News Now. Pride Month isn't just a celebration. It's a chance to honor LGBTQ plus leaders, those who fought back during the Stonewall uprising 55 years ago.
And those trailblazers who ever since have bravely come out to fight for their rights. Well, now many of those pioneers are elders who need a safe, affordable place to live. I visited one place here in New York City, the nation's largest LGBTQ-friendly housing development for elders, and we learned the need for affordable communities like this is huge.
Stretching 17 stories above Brooklyn, Stonewall House is like the end of the rainbow. A treasure for LGBTQ plus elders, including Howard Grossman and Bradford Smith, who've been a couple for more than 40 years.
But Stonewall House has been a nice, comforting place for us to finally settle down.
We're all in the same boat. You know, we're getting older, we're aging, we have our health issues. It's like a family. It's one big family.
They moved here 4 years ago after entering a lottery. 2,000 signed up for just 145 apartments.
You won the lottery to get into here. Do you feel like you just won the lottery in life?
Definitely.
Yeah,
right?
Most definitely. The friends of ours that are gay or in that case being seniors, they don't know where they're going to go.
A report finds nearly half of older same-sex couples applying for elder housing were subjected to discrimination. Stonewall House is a response to that, overseen by SAGE, a group that offers support for LGBTQ+ elders. Michael Adams is SAGE's CEO.
Many older people who are LGBTQ do not feel welcome and accepted where they live. In fact, often SAGE's constituents will tell us that the place that they feel least safe and least welcome is where they live.
And we're going to say Stonewall on 3. 1, 2, 3, Stonewall!
It's not just affordable housing. The community center at Stonewall House offers a wide range of programs, including painting.
And this is mine as well.
Barbara Abrams doesn't live here, but the 80-year-old does walk here 5 times a week, a mile each way, to be with fellow members of the LGBTQ+ community.
It creates family for me that I do not have. These people mean everything to me. When I come in, I'm received with love. And I just appreciate it so much.
The place is named after the Stonewall Uprising in 1969. That's when police raided a popular gay bar called the Stonewall Inn, and the community fought back. It was a turning point in the battle for LGBTQ+ rights.
What Stonewall represented was, you're not going to just shut us up. You're not going to make us be quiet. You know, we want to be ourselves.
So living in a place called Stonewall must have a lot of meaning then.
Yes, yeah. Very much so. Symbolic and proud. As a home, proud.
For Howard and Bradford, who married in 2014 and long worried about where they'd live together in retirement as an openly gay couple, Stonewall House is the answer.
So this is home.
This is home.
Definitely, for sure. Yes.
SAGE is helping other places replicate this kind of housing across the country, along with training providers who care for elders in the LGBTQ+ community, no matter where they live. Let's continue our Proud Out Loud coverage with a closer look at how the transgender community is fighting for acceptance. A recent GLAAD survey found that 71% of Americans say they've never met someone who is transgender. This month, in a new national campaign with Ground Media, GLAAD is aiming to change that. It's called Here We Are, and it shares the personal stories of 3 transgender Americans who want to live their lives free of fear. Here's a little look at one of those stories.
Cable news should not be the first place you see a transgender person. I'm a regular dude. I love watching hockey games, love hiking, I love hanging out with my friends, and I happen to be transgender.
When Ashton told me he was transgender, I was very worried at first because I didn't know what to do. I just knew that I loved him unconditionally, and we would figure it out.
And we are thrilled to have Ashton Colby and his dad, Rick Colby, in studio to talk more about this new campaign. We actually spoke with you remotely a couple years ago, so it is great to actually have you here live in person in New York. Talk about, Colby, talk about, Ashton, why it is so important to be a part of this campaign. Because you sort of say this idea, we know most people haven't met a trans person, and oftentimes they see them on the news, maybe in a way that's not always flattering.
Right. Yeah. It's time for us to tell our own story and really allow our truth to come through in a larger audience, because there's a lot of pressure, legislation that is just an attempt to completely dehumanize us. And the things that I hear about my community, the people in my community, it's not aligned with reality. And I'm here, I'm living my truth, and I'm happy. And I wish this type of peace and contentment for everyone. So we're ready to show what it's really like to be trans.
Trans joy is rarely covered in a way it needs to be.
Trans joy, yeah. Yeah. Gender joy. I mean, the whole process of me going through this, I came out in 2012, so it's been over a decade, and I have really struggled, and I never would have thought that one of the struggles later in life, once I got to be who I really have been meant to be, is just this incredible explosion of really embarrassing legislation. Like, we're from Ohio, and it's every single state that is now dealing with these things that, again, are just, it's not the reality of who I am.
I have no doubt what's helped you, Ashton, is the support of your father.
Definitely, yeah.
Children come out all the time in various ways to their parents, and every parent handles it differently. What was your guiding lights in this situation?
Well, first and foremost, what sparked this discussion about being transgender was one cold February night, Sunday at midnight, a friend of Ashton's called us and said, you need to get down to Dayton to pick up Ashton because he's suicidal. And what happened was he simply didn't see a path forward as a woman. And from my perspective, it was a crisis. But from his perspective, it was a major spiritual awakening. And I didn't really have a frame of reference like most parents, but I knew that non-acceptance or rejection was not going to be on the list of options. And I knew that rejection and non-acceptance could lead to homelessness or substance abuse or even suicide. And can you imagine the reaction when your child tells you, the reason why I'm suicidal is because I don't see a path forward in this gender and I want to be a man. And you start debating or arguing and say, no, that's not really true. And you don't really believe that. So with Ashton as my guide, we figured it out. We did it the right way. I told him, you don't have to do this alone. It was a mutual journey. And to see him get to this place, Joe, where we started and where we are now, I don't even know that I can articulate how happy I am to see him become the young man that any parent would be proud to have.
One thing that's noted in the campaign is you're a Republican.
Yes.
And obviously the legislation is a huge issue. But I mean, do you hear from other parents who have been influenced by you in a positive way, that you have impacted them to be more accepting of their children?
Yes. I mean, the reason we got involved is because this was being portrayed as some kind of left-wing thing, that there were all these left-wing parents pushing their kids into being transgender. And that wasn't our reality at all. It's not our experience. I'm a conservative Republican in Ohio. But I'm also a person who believes that there are objective truths still in this world. And one objective truth I learned is that being transgender is a real thing. And if it's a real thing, then it transcends any political ideology. And I'm a parent first and foremost before I am a Republican.
Ashton, we only have about 30 seconds here, but if there's any message you can communicate to people on how they can support the trans community, what would it be?
Listen, look us in the eyes, open your heart. We're coming with big open hearts. And when you're sitting across from me, it's really hard to deny my humanity. Maybe buy us a cup of coffee. Have a conversation first.
We could all listen a little bit more, couldn't we? All right.
Thank you.
We are so grateful. Ashton, Rick, Colby, thank you for joining us this morning, for sharing your story. We appreciate it. And happy Pride.
Thank you so much.
Happy Pride.
Coming up, Teens Protecting Teens. We're going to tell you about the new program. It's meant to tackle a growing mental health crisis among young people. That is coming up next on Morning News Now.
Welcome back. You might have noticed I wasn't here at the desk over the last few days, and that is because I was at the 20th annual Aspen Ideas Festival. Our parent company, NBC Universal News Group, is the program's official media partner. What gave me the special opportunity to speak to thinkers and leaders from around the world about everything from climate and tech to our youth mental health crisis. That last topic was the focus of my conversation with psychologist and author Lisa D'Amour. I asked her the biggest warning signs that something might be up with a teen.
Here's what I would recommend. Make sure that all of your students know that there are 5 things that if they are aware of themselves in a peer or themselves, they need to let an adult know. So depression/suicidality, eating disordered behavior, self-harm, out of control weekend behavior, high risk taking, and dangerous relationships. Make sure that your students have ways to let adults know who they're worried about that they will actually use.
How do you ensure that counselors, teachers, administrators out of school are the people that students want to go to?
Here's what I say to schools. Go get your 6 bluntest juniors in a room and say to them, if you were worried about Molly, would you tell an adult at this school why or why not? And work with whatever they have to tell you.
Wow.
Because it's the kids' network and the kids' beliefs about the trustworthiness of the adults that you're up against. And if you ask a teenager a straight question, they will give you a straight answer.
Let's keep this important conversation going with our weekly mental health check-in and look at some other mental health stories out there you might have missed.
That's right. As you can see here, we've got licensed marriage and family therapist Dr. George James here to help us out. Dr. James, good morning. So Dr. Damore there, what she said really kind of, it stuck with me because of its simplicity, I think. Like, just make sure that kids know these 5 warning signs and then just ask these kids what it is that works for them, who they would talk to. And this comes as programs are popping up around the country that are costing a lot of things, stuff like that in different schools. Do you think this particular approach can help with the crisis that we're seeing today in schools, the one that Dr. Damore laid out?
Good morning, Savannah. Yes, I do think that this could be very helpful. And what I would add to that is that we've noticed that peer-to-peer support training for teens can also be helpful, giving them ability to know what are the warning signs or what are the initial things to say and how to guide their friends to support and help. That can also be helpful. And along with the bluntest students, I would also go with the ones that are going to the counselors or the ones that show up to teachers' offices. Speak to those students because sometimes they feel ignored, and they can also be helpful in supporting their fellow classmates to get help that they need.
All right, let's take a big turn here. The countdown to Thursday's first presidential debate this time around. There's a lot of speculation and talk about the candidates' mental acuity because of their age. There are 100-year-old people who are really sharp. There are 70-year-old people who are not so sharp. So it's hard to just say because you're a certain age, you are this way mentally. Is there a danger in having this conversation about age and mental ability, or is this something reasonable for voters to be concerned about?
So first, yes, we know that over time with age, our cognitive ability can decline, but that doesn't always mean impairment. And that's a most critical part. And is it ideal that we have 2 candidates with the average age of 79.5? No, that's not ideal, but that doesn't mean that their ability to serve the country or lead the country is not there. We need to look at that. Do we believe that they can lead the country in the best way? But then also don't lose sight of all the other factors that might help you to cast your vote. Because if you only focus on age and cognitive ability, you might miss all the other things that are also very important in you making your decision. So look at all the things and just know that there are many older citizens who are very aware and able to make great decisions. So just because you're older doesn't mean you have cognitive impairment.
Dr. James, let's talk finally about something called doom spending, kind of similar to doom scrolling. Researchers say a quick yet not so healthy fix, it seems like, to fixing anxious or even hopeless thoughts. Dr. James, can you break this one down for us and how people who might fall victim to this can try to get it under control?
Yeah, many of us deal with our anxious feelings in various ways. We don't want to be around people, or we want to be around lots of folks, or we spend. And sometimes when we're anxious or challenged, we try to distract ourselves or dissociate, escape. And sometimes that can be okay and healthy, but those escapes can take over and get out of control, like spending. So you want to be able to have some boundaries, some accountability partners, some ways to say no to yourself, some ways to delay gratification so that it doesn't end up being another problem where now you have no money for the things that are important for you as you move forward in your life, because any of these things can become an issue. So talk about it. Don't do it on your own, but know that you're not the only one that's overspending during these times.
Dr. James, as always, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And also, as we touched on suicide earlier, we of course should say that if you or anyone you know is struggling, please call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It is just 988. Coming up, the future of travel might have arrived.
When we return, how artificial intelligence is changing the way some folks are planning their summer vacations. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News Now.
Welcome back. Finally, this hour, we are taking a look at how AI can impact how we travel.
Yeah, some people are turning to artificial intelligence to help plan and book their trip. CNBC media and technology correspondent Julia Borston shows us how it all works.
I'm here on vacation in Hawaii, and I used AI to help plan my trip. AI is playing the role of travel agent with a range of new tools using the cutting-edge technology to offer customized recommendations. Before I left, I logged into MindTrip AI, which uses AI to suggest itineraries and activities based on your profile and preferences, aggregating ratings and reviews from Google, along with TripAdvisor and Priceline, which users can book through. You can ask for recommendations, add plans to your trip, read reviews, and share your bookings with friends and family. And when I was there, it was helpful to pull up addresses and find restaurants nearby.
If you use ChatGPT today, you still probably have to go and Google everything. You still have to go and you'll look at all the different places that it recommends and actually do all the work you had to do before. What we're trying to do is make that so that that all happens like a travel agent would have done 20 years ago. Do all that work for you and use the AI to actually take all the effort out of that.
It's not just startups. We're seeing the travel giants invest in generative AI tools as well. The two biggest booking platforms both introduced AI-powered chatbot assistants. Expedia's is called Rami, and Priceline's is named Penny. Airbnb bought an AI startup back in November called Game Planner. CEO Brian Chesky says generative AI will radically change the platform and that he wants to use it as a travel concierge that learns about users over time and enhances their experiences. Google is also moving into this space.
The end result is a personalized vacation plan presented in Gemini's new dynamic UI.
Recently announcing that its Gemini chatbot can research flight times and offer hotel booking options to create a custom multi-day vacation itinerary in a matter of seconds. We haven't yet seen these new digital tools impact travel agent jobs. As recently as December, a record 47% of travelers surveyed say they still use travel agents.
Our thanks to Julia Borson for that report. I'll have to give it a shot.
Now I want to go on vacation. All right, that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues, though, right now. Good morning. Thanks for being with us this Tuesday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, flood emergency. Millions of people across South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa are at risk after days of heavy rain swelled rivers and submerged entire communities. In Minnesota, a dam is on the brink of failure because of damage from the flooding, and authorities say there is no way to stop it.
People don't need to panic that live downstream. We've notified the people that may be affected by a sudden rise in the water, and they are being aware. One of them already did leave their house. But it just shows how powerful moving water can be.
We will have the latest on the extreme weather gripping the nation, coast to coast. Also this hour, emergency crews in Gaza say more than a dozen people were killed after Israeli forces bombed 2 school compounds overnight. Well, the latest on that attack as Israel's defense minister meets with Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Washington amid strained U.S.-Israeli relations. Also this morning, walking free. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange headed home to Australia after agreeing to a plea deal with the Justice Department. Assange will plead guilty to 1 charge of conspiracy in exchange for his freedom. So is this the end to the long-standing saga? We're going to have the latest. Plus, a walk in the park as the number of visitors flocking to the country's national park soars. We've got some top tips on how you can enjoy your nature escape and stay safe this summer.
Oh, look at those beautiful
Lots of
shots.
vacation video this morning.
Yeah.
Good to have you with us. We're going to start this hour in Iowa, where record-breaking floods have isolated one town, forcing people to evacuate to city shelters. Thousands of homes and properties were destroyed, with hundreds of rescues made.
This comes as the dangerous heat wave baking parts of the South shows no signs of letting up, with more triple-digit temperatures in today's forecast. We have NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster with us live in Iowa with the latest on the extreme weather. Hi, Shaq. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. And President Biden overnight approved a disaster declaration for certain counties here in Iowa as the official death toll rose to 2 people. And when you look at the water level behind me, the sheer devastation becomes so clear. This is a residential street. We're about a quarter mile away from even the edge of the river. And you see the river is an extension, or this neighborhood is an extension of that river. That stop sign down there barely breaking the water level there. This is all part of historic flooding that has impacted some 3 million people, not just here in Iowa, but across the area.
This morning in Minnesota, the failure of the Rapidan Dam appears imminent.
Overnight, a support structure already experiencing what the sheriff's office called a partial failure.
Behind it.
The damage, part of the deadly river flooding impacting 3 states.
We are really looking at unprecedented times right now.
Rivers overflowing their banks at historic levels, submerging entire communities and putting pressure on infrastructure. More than 3,000 buildings inundated, according to a private analysis of satellite images. Water rising to levels that caused the partial collapse of this key railroad bridge in Sioux City, connecting South Dakota and Iowa. That rail bridge collapse, the result of an all-time record-high river crest, the water levels exceeding the previous record by more than 7 feet. In Iowa, several counties facing overnight curfews and evacuations.
We have assisted 17 people by boat or by walking them to a safe location.
Kim Wood's husband noticed the rapidly rising water in the middle of the night, the couple scrambling to escape.
We literally drove through everybody's yard up until this house right here. And
that was the only way out.
That was the only way out.
And the danger is not over, with several rivers forecast to hit flood stage in the coming days. A total loss for so many, still at risk of even more devastation.
We'll get through this.
And guys, unfortunately, there is rain in the forecast for later this week. But look, even without that potential threat, this water is not expected to go away anytime soon, or at least go away quickly. And that's because the river crested at such a high level that it won't even go back to the previous historic record until Thursday, and is not expected to break flood stage until later this weekend.
All right, Shaq, thank you very much. Stay safe.
With all this going on, let's get a check on your Morning News Now forecast with meteorologist Michelle Grossman.
Yeah, she's got the latest for us. Hi, Michelle. Good morning.
Hey there, guys. Good morning. And we continue to watch those dangerous storms, also those the rivers flooding and dangerous heat. So stormy weather and some summer-like weather in many parts of the country. Let's start with the severe weather on this map, because we're looking at storms this morning, and then we're going to see them sink to the south and the east, so Midwest, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and then eventually into the Northeast tomorrow. Very hot and humid in the south. We're looking at temperatures in the upper 90s, some spots to triple digits. If you don't make it to the triple digits, it will feel like that once you factor in the humidity. Further to the west, we're looking at southwest storms, monsoonal moisture for today and over the next couple of days. Looking really nice in the Pacific Northwest. We're looking at temperatures really nice. And then the south, we're looking at Florida, where we're looking at the chance for some rain. Let's start with that heat, because we're looking at 70 million people impacted by heat alerts. We have heat alerts stretching from the Central Plains to the Southern Plains, the Tennessee Valley, the lower Mississippi Valley into the southeast, Tallahassee, New Orleans, Oklahoma City. You're under heat advisories. In the pink is a heat warning. Philadelphia also under a heat advisory. And this is why we're looking at temperatures into the 90s, into the 100s. St. Louis today, 100 degrees. You factor in the humidity, it'll feel like 106, feeling like 107 in Memphis today. It'll feel like 91 in Richmond and Philadelphia. Had a break yesterday. You're going to feel like 90 degrees today with that air temperature at 91. And then we're going to factor in that humidity tomorrow. So you're going to feel like 100 degrees tomorrow in Philadelphia. Feeling like 101 in Nashville. Notice those air temperatures, 97 in Charlotte, 99 in Augusta, and 93 in New Bern. So the heat does continue. Also watching the river flooding. Where you see the pink dots, that is major flooding. So lots of river gauges measuring at major levels. We're going to continue to watch that, as Shaq mentioned, over the next several days. Let's take a look at radar, because this is a busy, busy story this morning. Where you see those brighter colors, that's where we're seeing the really heavy rainfall. And you kind of see a bowing in the state of Michigan. That's where we could be seeing some very damaging winds, significant winds. We had winds registering at 70 miles per hour, so a tough morning there. But with that, we're looking at lightning, thunder. The yellow box is showing us where we have severe thunderstorm watches. The orange boxes are severe thunderstorm warnings. That will continue to move off to the south and east. And then by this afternoon, another round of severe weather develops this evening, where you see that yellow, especially in Chicago, Omaha, Kansas City, St. Louis, into Louisville. We are looking at the chance for more storms. 31 million people at risk. Could see some really large hail, damaging winds, and also the chance of a few tornadoes. With that, we're looking at heavy rain also. So flash flooding is a concern today. And then tomorrow, that cold front, look how long it stretches from the northeast all the way down to portions of the south. So from the Gulf Coast to the northeast, locally heavy downpours with flooding possible once again tomorrow. And we could see some hail, even the chance of some damaging winds. The potential for a few brief tornadoes are possible as well. 43 million people at risk in major cities like Philadelphia, New York City, D.C. So the major cities along the I-95 corridor. When I think of that, I think of all the airlines and all the flights that are going out, people traveling on the roads. So it's going to be a tricky day tomorrow as well.
And there'll be a domino effect with all of that.
Yeah,
all right.
that's what happens.
That's why I wasn't here yesterday. A whole domino effect of weather.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
traveling
What
and
a
stuff in the
pain,
summer.
right?
Yeah. All right, Michelle, thank you.
Sure.
Now to the latest on the push to free more hostages in Gaza, in a war that has raged on for nearly 9 months now. Families are releasing disturbing video showing an American and 2 others who were taken by Hamas during the October 7th terror attacks. These developments come as Israel's defense minister visits Washington for key meetings. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us from Jerusalem with the latest. Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe. And as you mentioned, the top Minister of Defense official, well, he's the Minister of Defense. He's in Washington now, meeting with top U.S. officials. And this happens as we're seeing the fighting raging in the Gaza Strip with additional strikes overnight. Now, also, one of the families of one of the American hostages still held in the Gaza Strip has released new video showing his abduction at the hands of Hamas on October 7th. This is a video shot by Hamas. They're releasing it yesterday. They did release it yesterday. And the idea is they're trying to shore up more support to free those remaining hostages. But a warning, this is a very graphic video. Today, Israel's assault on the Gaza Strip continues. The IDF striking 2 school compounds overnight. Attacks the Palestinian Civil Defense, the emergency rescue service in Hamas-ruled Gaza, said killed 14 people and left several injured. Israel's military said the 2 schools had been used by Hamas as a shield for its terrorist activities. The war in Gaza among the topics that Israel's defense minister discussing with top officials on a visit to Washington, including Secretary of State Antony Blinken.
He is emphasizing a few things in his meeting with the defense minister. Number 1, our ongoing commitment to Israel's security. Number 2, the importance of Israel developing robust, realistic plans for the day after the conflict.
Another major goal, patching up disagreements in a fraying alliance. Yoav Gallant saying in his statement overnight, "We must resolve the differences between us quickly and stand together." Israel's leadership now more isolated than ever as families of the remaining hostages still held in Gaza ramp up protests and calls for a deal, including American Hirsch Goldberg-Pollen, whose mother and father are demanding action. Yesterday, they released a video of Hirsch's abduction, along with 2 others. The video was shot by Hamas militants during the October 7th attacks. You can see Hirsch's captors celebrating, and his left arm had been severed by a grenade attack. You still haven't seen the video?
No.
Do you expect to see it?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've lived in this parallel universe of anguish for 262 days.
Like many here, the family is angry that months of negotiations haven't freed their son.
These are real people with dreams, with aspirations, with families waiting for them. This is our son.
And amidst that sparring between Washington and Jerusalem, Joe, we heard again from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday. This time he was walking back comments he made earlier in the week, saying now that he's going to continue the fighting in Gaza until all those hostages are released. But the organization that represents the families of those remaining hostages, they're slamming Netanyahu. They're saying that he was making inaccurate or inconsistent statements, and they're demanding an urgent meeting. Joe, Savannah.
All right. Matt, thank you so much.
Well, later today, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is set to plead guilty to 1 conspiracy charge as part of a deal with the Department of Justice to allow him to walk free. It comes nearly 15 years after WikiLeaks began posting classified documents about the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons joins us now from Paris with more. Keir, good morning.
Good morning to you, and this is making headlines around the world. Julian Assange, after a 14-year legal saga, flying out of the UK, landing in Bangkok, and then flying on to the US territories of the Northern Mariana Islands, where a Justice Department official says, as you say, that he will enter a guilty plea before flying on to his native Australia, a free man.
Today, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is out of prison, departing the UK overnight in this video released by his organisation, It comes after the US Justice Department announced the apparent plea deal with Assange, allowing him to plead guilty to a single count of conspiracy to obtain and disseminate classified national security information, according to federal court documents. He's expected to return to his native Australia with credit for time served, more than 5 years in a British prison. WikiLeaks posting on social media, Julian's freedom is our freedom. Assange's wife reacting to the news overnight, speaking to the BBC.
It's a whirlwind of emotions. I mean, I'm just elated. Feels like it's not real.
The deal stems from one of the worst leaks of classified material in US history back in 2010.
The real story of this material is that it's war. It's one damn thing after another.
WikiLeaks published nearly 500,000 secret military documents, including this 2007 video of an Apache helicopter killing civilians in Iraq. The US government says Assange conspired with Chelsea Manning, an army intelligence analyst with a top-secret security clearance, to disclose those classified documents starting in late 2009. Manning was sentenced to 35 years in a military prison, but President Barack Obama commuted her sentence before leaving office in 2017. Assange previously denied any wrongdoing and had been fighting extradition to the US while in British custody.
I ask you all to shout louder, lobby harder, until he is free.
While Assange's supporters have hailed him as a whistleblower, even a folk hero, some intelligence analysts say Assange did untold damage to US national security.
Julian Assange did the wrong thing. Julian Assange hurt the United States government. He put the lives of our troops in danger. He put the lives, particularly of Iraqi citizens who had helped our effort in the war in Iraq, in danger. So this guy did a lot of bad things.
Now, the White House saying this morning that it had no involvement in this plea deal, which it says was a Justice Department decision. And this is separate from Julian Assange's involvement in the 2016 election, when WikiLeaks published material from the Democratic National Committee and from Hillary Clinton's election campaign. Julian Assange has never been charged in that case. Russian intelligence officials have been indicted by the US. Back to you.
All right, Kirsten Mins, thank you very much.
We are now just 2 days away from the highly anticipated first presidential debate between President Biden and former President Trump. As NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez explains, both sides are taking different approaches as they prepare for the big night.
Just days away from that crucial first debate, both campaigns are preparing very differently. President Biden hunkered down at Camp David, huddling with advisors with no public events scheduled this week.
He's now a convicted felon.
While his campaign is out with a new ad highlighting former President Trump's legal problems. A senior Biden advisor tells NBC News the president is expected to be increasingly punchier against Trump, and that it's a moment where the campaign hopes to break through to a larger audience that has yet to tune in to the election. Leading Biden's debate prep is former Chief of Staff Ron Klain. A source familiar with the preparations tells NBC News that Biden's personal lawyer, Bob Bauer, is playing Trump during the prep sessions, reprising his role from 2020.
To be honest, it's hard to say some of the things that he says, some of which are, very fact-free.
It's a stark contrast from former President Trump, who's holding informal policy discussions with advisors, but no mock debates, while still holding public events. The former president is fundraising in Louisiana after campaigning in Pennsylvania over the weekend, mocking his opponent for not leaving Camp David.
He's sleeping now because they want to get him good and strong.
Trump teasing that he's already chosen his running mate and says the person will likely attend the debate in Atlanta.
Have you decided who your vice president is?
In my mind, yeah.
Do they know?
No, nobody knows.
Among the top debate topics expected, the economy, immigration, and reproductive rights.
What both candidates need to do is talk about what they're going to do for the American people, how they're going to show up as leaders.
Our thanks to Gabe Gutierrez for that report. NBC News Now will have special live coverage and analysis of Thursday's debate hosted by CNN. Our coverage gets underway at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The actual debate begins at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, here on NBC News Now, as well as on NBC.
Well, yesterday marked 2 years since the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe versus Wade. Because of the move, nearly 28 million women now live in states with partial or total abortion bans, according to Planned Parenthood. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett spoke with 5 women impacted by the reversal.
2 years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court did something it had never done before. It overturned the constitutional right to an abortion, something that had been in place for almost 50 years. As we reflect on the 2-year anniversary of that decision, I sat down with 5 women to hear their stories.
Pre-Dobbs, we were already in a pretty bad place in Texas.
The day Lauren Miller learned she was pregnant, she started a journal.
I didn't know it was twins yet.
But at 12 weeks, she learned that one of the twins she was carrying had trisomy 18, a rare chromosomal condition making survival highly unlikely.
You never think that your pregnancy journal is just going to turn into a horror novel.
Because her fetus still had a heartbeat, she couldn't get an abortion under the law in Texas, and she's not alone. How many of you were told you could not receive an abortion because the baby still had a heartbeat? All of you. Texas, like more than a dozen other states, moved swiftly to cut off abortion access after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade 2 years ago in the Dobbs decision. The High Court saying then that it was returning the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. But what's happened in states since Dobbs? Now a fierce fight heading into November.
Getting it back to the states puts the question where it belongs, with the vote of the people.
Former President Trump taking full credit for getting Roe overturned, but more recently also saying he believes in exceptions in cases of rape, incest, and to save a mother's life.
You have to go with your heart, but you have to also remember you have to get elected.
Rallies across the country as the Biden campaign tries to draw a direct line from Mr. Trump to Dobbs.
Decades of progress shattered just because the last guy got 4 years in the White House.
Highlighting women denied abortions, releasing ads focused on their stories, and making it a central focus of the re-election campaign. The vice president addressing a crowd.
In the case of the stealing of reproductive freedom from the women of America, Donald Trump is guilty.
Recent data over the last 2 years showing more women forced to travel for care since Dobbs. Women like Jessica Bernardo, one of a group of women who filed a lawsuit against the state last year with the help of the Center for Reproductive Rights, alleging they were denied abortions in Texas. 5 of them sat down exclusively with Nightly News.
I didn't want to wait for having a seizure or heart or renal failure. There's no coming out back from that. It was just infuriating.
We're not here sounding an alarm about hypothetical scenarios. We're sounding the alarm about what is already happening and what has happened to us.
But not everyone has been able to travel. Samantha Casiano learned at her 20-week scan that her baby had anencephaly and would not survive, but could not afford to leave Texas for an abortion.
It was hard and traumatizing.
Her baby living only 4 hours after birth.
Knowing that your child is going to die and planning your child's funeral before your child's even here is insane.
Amanda Zarowski had the resources to travel, but says she became too sick too fast to leave Texas in time.
I didn't even have that option because my doctors told me you better not be more than 15 minutes away from a hospital. I have to use a surrogate now because of what happened to me. The damage to my reproductive organs is permanent.
The group recently lost their lawsuit to clarify who qualifies for a medical exemption under Texas's abortion ban, and now fear what's still to come. How many of you are worried that someone is going to die from these laws?
If they haven't already.
Yeah. While the High Court said it was getting out of the business of abortion entirely, the justices remain deeply entrenched in it. As soon as this week or early next, the justices are expected to rule in a high-profile case about whether abortions are still required in cases of medical emergencies, even in states where abortion is largely banned, places like Idaho and 5 other states. The justice is expected to issue that decision as soon as this week or early next.
All right, Laura, thank you so much.
After a 30-year wait, the Florida Panthers are finally Stanley Cup champs. The Panthers beat the Edmonton Oilers 2-1 in a tense Game 7 last night, earning the right to lift the Stanley Cup trophy for the first time in team history. And they did it at home in front of their fans. Here's a little bit of what it means to the Panther faithful.
So many times we're back against the wall, and we
Listen, it's just unbelievable, finally.
The Oilers did make it a series to remember. Down 3-0. They won 3 in a row, forcing this Game 7. But it's the Panthers who got their glorious redemption after falling short in last year's finals. Good for them. I was driving through New York last night. There's a bar called the Canuck, and there was a very long line of Edmonton Oilers fans waiting to get in, who I'm sure were very disappointed at the end of the game last night.
Sorry for them.
All right, coming up, a deadly shark attack that has devastated the surfing community.
Yeah, we're getting new details about the tragic death of Tamayo Perry in Hawaii over the weekend. More on that next. Welcome back. Tributes continue to pour in this morning for a beloved pro surfer who was killed in a shark attack in Oahu over the weekend.
Fatal incidents from shark attacks are incredibly rare, but this one is being felt across the Hawaiian community. Get the latest from NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk.
Tamayo Perry grew up surfing in the same spot where he was attacked by a shark. His friends say no one knew the waters off of Oahu like he did. A professional surfer and a lifeguard. One of his friends telling me if this could happen to Perry, it could happen to anyone. The shark attack that killed Tamayo Perry has left his family and the surf world shaken. Perry's wife and fellow surfer Amelia telling NBC News her husband was a man of faith. And tragic though his passing may be, he left this world doing what he loved, where he loved to do it. This one is hard to believe, writes surfing legend Kelly Slater. You truly lived the life you loved. Moana Wong, the queen of the pipeline, posting, I will cherish our memories forever. Jason Bitzer surfed with him for more than 20 years.
What impact is his death having on the community there?
It's really hard to gauge because it's immense. This guy is the salt of the earth, just a really genuinely good person.
Perry was known for surfing Hawaii's Banzai Pipeline, one of the most dangerous waves in the world.
He's a world-class waterman, second to none. He was a professional at the highest level in surfing.
He went on to be an actor, getting roles in movies like Blue Crush.
Pretty nuts. Broke my board.
Most recently, he worked as a lifeguard at Pipeline, saving fellow surfers caught in Oahu's huge surf. But on Sunday afternoon, officials say there was little they could do to save Perry. He was surfing near Goat Island when the 49-year-old was attacked by a shark and bitten multiple times.
Honolulu Ocean Safety responded via jet ski and brought the surfer here to shore.
Shark attacks are rare in Hawaii, averaging nearly 8 a year. There have been only 6 fatalities in the last decade. Worldwide, the number of shark attacks increased in 2023, 69 unprovoked attacks, according to the University of Florida. 10 of those attacks were fatal.
It's their world. It's a very rare occurrence. He surfed the same waters thousands and thousands of times, and, these things do happen.
But Bitzer says that for Perry, the risk was always worth it.
He was doing what he loved, and he was surfing at a spot that he grew up and cherished since childhood.
A marine biologist in Hawaii says there have been some shark sightings in that area. Other surfers have seen them. She has seen them as well. She does not know why the shark attacked in the circumstances, but he was out surfing in deep water, and it may have made it more difficult for emergency responders to get to him. Back to you.
All right, Stephanie, thank you.
International news now. An American couple is among the hundreds of people who have died in the extreme heat during this year's Hajj pilgrimage.
Claudio Lavaca joins us from Rome with that and more. Claudio, good morning.
Savannah Joe, good morning. That's right. A husband and wife from Maryland are among more than 1,000 people who've died at the Hajj this year, the annual Islamic pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia. Now, their daughter said the couple had always dreamed of making the pilgrimage to Mecca, which Muslims are expected to make at least once in their lifetime. But this year, pilgrims had to walk and stand for hours in punishing heat. And in the end, Saudi officials said that more than 1,300 people died and many more fainted or collapsed because of it. Let's go to Britain now, where Buckingham Palace says Princess Anne, King Charles' youngest sister, suffered a head injury on Sunday. On Monday, the palace said the 73-year-old princess suffered minor injuries and a concussion and is now recovering in a hospital in Bristol, in the west of England. The palace did not give out details about the incident, although according to a local source who spoke to Reuters, it may have involved a horse. She's expected to make a full recovery. And let's end this tour of the world in China, where state broadcaster CCTV says that the country's lunar module returned to Earth on Tuesday. The module is carrying moon dust and rocks collected for the first time from the far side of the moon. The historic mission is considered a major step forward for China's ambitious space program dubbed Eternal Dream. Chinese leader Xi Jinping hailed it as, I quote, another landmark achievement in building a strong country in space, science, and technology. Back to you guys.
All right, very cool. Claudio, thank you so much.
Coming up, 2 emotional reunions after 2 incredible rescues.
The separate stories of a hiker and a 4-year-old who were both saved while stranded in the California wilderness. That's next. We're back now with an alarming new report that shows a growing trend primarily targeting teenage boys. It's called financial sextortion. That's when criminals coerce people into sending explicit images online, then threatening to share them unless the victims pay.
Well, a new report into the practice is out today. It's been released by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, along with technology nonprofit Thorn. And it shows, look at this stat on your screen, 90% of the financial sextortion cases submitted to the study involved boys between the ages of 14 and 17. Joining us now on this is Callahan Walsh, a child advocate at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Such an important study here. It shows that while child sextortion historically targets females, and there's some important differences here, right? That's really when a predator of some sort is interacting with a child versus this financial version that impacts boys specifically. Walk us through why that is and how you are seeing boys fall victim to these schemes.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, it initially started when we first started seeing reports of sextortion where individual predators were targeting young girls for sexually explicit images. They would get their hands on one image and then blackmail that child for more sexually explicit content. But what we're seeing now is a drastic shift by criminals and even criminal enterprises targeting young boys for now what we call financial sextortion. And these are coming out of areas that have been doing online and internet scams for a very long time, and they're very good at it. It happens quickly. They target these young boys through traditional social media platforms, but also non-traditional platforms like gaming platforms. And they often will catfish these young boys, sending them oftentimes first a sexually explicit image or an image of a child that is opposite of sex, but similar age, an attractive child that their target might be interested in. And they'll catfish that young boy and coerce them to send a sexually explicit image. And once that happens, it's almost all over. That's when these scammers will then continue to blackmail this child out of fear and try to tell this child that their life is going to be ruined if they don't comply with the demands. And these demands are for monetary goods and services. We're seeing Cash App requests, debit card requests and gift cards of the sort. These boys are being targeted at an alarming rate. And what's unfortunate is we saw over a dozen boys commit suicide last year alone.
Wow. That can be the impact of all of this. Your report found boys are being targeted through a variety of social media platforms. That does include Instagram. In a statement given to NBC News, Instagram says, quote, "Sextortion is a horrific crime. We work aggressively to fight this abuse and support law enforcement in investigating and prosecuting the criminals behind it." What more would you like to see social media companies do here?
Well, I think social media companies need to step up to the plate. They need to make sure that parents and children who are using the platform are aware that these dangers exist, that there are warning labels, that it's not something that just happened to a few children. This is happening regularly. And that the children that it has happened to need to understand that they're not isolated situations, that there is help, that there are resources out there to help fight back. And reporting, of course, is a huge part of that. These social media platforms need to step up. They need to make sure that these platforms are safe for their users. And if anything like this were to fall through the cracks, if these users are being scammed, that these platforms have a responsibility to make sure that there's resources in ways that they can protect themselves, parents can protect their children, and children can protect themselves.
That's exactly what we want to ask you about. How can parents educate their kids on how to stay safe online and prevent them from falling victim in this way, especially when something like this happens? I know I hear when I do reporting on this, kids are scared to talk about it. They think they're going to be in trouble or something like that. How can you make sure that that line of communication is open?
Absolutely. And there's so many great safety tips out there. But I tell parents the top three is number one, try to understand the technology the best you can. We know that, kids are tech savvy and they're often running circles around their parents. That knowledge gap can be so severe. But the best way to learn what tech your kids are using is ask them and sign up and get on those platforms yourself, poke around. Number two is to set ground rules and stick to them, especially if there's been bad behavior in the past. And number three, the most important, is to have ongoing conversations with your children about safety. Children are getting online and earlier in age, and that's when we need to really start having these conversations and empowering them how to make safe and smart decisions. But of course, as children get older, those conversations need to mature as well.
Important advice. Callahan Walsh, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, turning now to a pair of amazing rescues in California. Out in the Santa Cruz Mountains, a missing hiker says he survived 9 days living off of creek water and berries before being rescued by authorities. Meanwhile, a 4-year-old boy was also found after going missing for nearly 24 hours in the wilderness. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has the details.
Exhausted and embracing family. These photos capture the moment Lucas McLeish knew he'd survive after a wilderness nightmare. The 34-year-old lost for 9 days in California's Sierra Wilderness after setting off for what was supposed to be a 3-hour walk. His only tools, a flashlight and folding scissors.
Each day I go up a canyon, down a canyon to the next waterfall and just sit down by the waterfall and drink water out of my boot.
Drinking from his boot, eating wild berries, and sleeping on wet beds of leaves. McLeish fought off exhaustion and soon realized he wasn't alone.
I had a mountain lion that was following me, but it was cool. He kept his distance. I think it was just somebody watching over me.
He didn't tell anyone where he was going, so it was days before his family filed a missing persons report.
I just had to trust God that he was going to be okay. And that was hard to do some nights when we would go to bed at night because I would worry about where he was.
Finally, a tip led rescuers to where McLeish was calling for help, where he emerged shirtless and weary, but alive. Just a few hours east, another stunning rescue.
We really believe that we saw a modern-day miracle.
Renato Ramirez clinging to his 4-year-old son Christian after he went missing for 22 hours in the California woods. Ramirez says the family was visiting Huntington Lake when Christian went to play with other children, but never returned. The family called 911 almost immediately to launch an overnight search.
Terror, honestly, is terror. Walking around in the woods with a flashlight and I had jeans and a sweatshirt on and I was cold. And so I could imagine how cold and hungry and scared he must be.
An even more frightening realization was the wildlife.
I saw a couple bears while I was out searching for him, and that just gave me more energy to keep going.
The next day, nearly 24 hours later, crews found Christian a quarter mile away, sunburned, dehydrated, and ready to be home.
That was the best day of my life to get my little boy back and for him to be able to hug us back. It really was the best thing I could have ever imagined.
Christian's father says that he'll be spending no doubt the next few days at home, resting and recovering. The family feels very blessed that his only symptoms were, again, limited to mild dehydration and a little sunburn. As for the 34-year-old McLeish, when asked about what helped him press through day after day in the wilderness, he said 2 things specifically: burritos and taco bowls.
Oh, I so feel that. All right. Wow. That is just incredible. Morgan, thank you.
Coming up, McDonald's taking action after facing criticism over its prices.
Yeah, we're going to hear from the company's president about the new $5 value meal, which the company hopes will take a bite out of the competition. That is up next. Welcome back. It is almost time for what a lot of us think of as Christmas in July. For the 10th year in a row, Amazon has announced its Prime Day, which will be held next month on July 16th and 17th. The summer sale has become an annual shopping bonanza for consumers, and not just on Amazon. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung has more on how you could take advantage this year.
Well, hey there, Amazon just released the details of its much anticipated and Hallmark Prime Day event. This is their big sales event that happens in the summer. It's going to take place on July 16th and July 17th, and that is going to be about 3 weeks from now. As a reminder, these are going to be deals that are only available to Amazon Prime members, so you do have to have that $139 a year subscription to access these discounts. But Amazon saying they could offer the best prices ever on their own brand products, things like the Amazon Alexa, the Fire Stick for your TVs, as well as Ring doorbells, which they own as well. Amazon also saying that they're going to offer deep discounts on back to school. I know not all families are used to buying things as early as the middle of July, but it could be a good time to dive into any supplies for those that are headed back to school or going off to college. As a reminder, as you do shop for these deals, which, by the way, Amazon will be unveiling every 5 minutes with the assistance of some celebrities like Megan Thee Stallion. It's a very big star-studded event. Try not to buy anything that you don't need. In addition to use price comparison tools when buying the things that you are interested in purchasing. So tools like Camelizer and also Google can help you through the buying process, and Amazon itself will allow you to set up price alerts as well as exclusive invite-only deals that you can use to plan even in advance of July Prime Days, which again will be July 16th and July 17th. Some interesting sales to be had. I'll toss it back to you.
All right, Brian, thank you so much.
More financial news. Tech giant Apple has reportedly turned down an AI integration proposal from Meta.
CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other news. Silvana, good morning.
Hey guys, good morning to you. Yes, so Apple and Meta are not in talks to add the social networking giant's AI chatbot to the iPhone. The Wall Street Journal had reported the companies were in discussions, but Bloomberg reports they only briefly held talks in March, and those didn't go beyond the preliminary stage, and that's because Apple doesn't consider Meta's privacy practice to be strong enough. Apple unveiled its AI strategy earlier this month, bringing ChatGPT to its devices and rolling out its new Apple Intelligence technology. Google is reportedly creating new AI-powered chatbots based on celebrities and YouTube influencers. Google is also working on a feature to let people create their own chatbots simply by describing their appearance and personality. Now, that's similar to tools offered by startups such as Character AI. Now, Meta already has AI chatbots based on celebs and influencers, including Snoop Dogg, Paris Hilton, and Mr. Beast. And summer is here, but demand for swimming pools just isn't so hot. Pool Corp, that's the world's largest wholesaler of pool and backyard products, is slashing its profit outlook for this year, citing weak demand for new construction. The peak season for pool sales is wrapping up right about now, but the company's forecast comes as costly essentials continue to weigh on leisure spending, while higher interest rates and home prices have put a freeze on the housing market, guys.
But some folks might reconsider after this past week. They might be like, I think I need a pool.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Savannah. Appreciate
You
it.
got it.
Today officially kicks off the Summer of Value for McDonald's. The fast food giant is debuting its new $5 value meal, which was created partially in response to customer complaints about rising prices. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is live at a McDonald's in Miami with the latest. Sam, good morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning. McDonald's is basically as much American as, apple pie. And yeah, just like any other company, Joe, they've been fighting off years of inflation. The average item on their menu is up about 40% just in the last 5 years. The company says to keep up with the rising cost of goods and staffing. But now, as you mentioned, today is officially Meal Deal Day. It drops, and it's the latest effort from the company right now to bolster sales and to keep customers coming back. This morning, McDonald's is unveiling a new break for your wallet with their value meal to combat rising prices and lure consumers back through the golden arches. Starting today, for just $5, the fast food chain will offer your choice of a McDouble or McChicken sandwich, small fries, a 4-piece chicken nuggets, and a small drink at participating locations across the country. The $5 meal deal is expected to run nationwide for 4 weeks, with some franchises committing to extend the offer.
My restaurants plan to be at the forefront of trying to bring some relief to a inflation-impacted customer.
The price of food away from home rose 4% just over the last year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. with a recent survey finding nearly 1 in 2 consumers plan to cut back on eating away from home in order to save money.
Can we talk about how ridiculous fast food prices are?
As frustrated customers feel the bite.
Almost $9 for a Big Mac.
Of prices at the drive-thru. And it's not just McDonald's not loving the impact of customers pulling back.
Eat like a king who's on a budget.
Places like Burger King,
Go Biggie,
and Wendy's are already offering their own $5 rival deals.
In terms of price, pretty good.
Now with McDonald's entering the battle of the buns with its summer of value, its president serving up a direct message. We heard our fans loud and clear, adding, value has always been part of our DNA. We're focused on living up to that legacy and offering delicious, affordable options.
Now, guys, there may have been one McDonald's somewhere in America that was charging $18 for a Big Mac, but on average, McDonald's did give you a glance of its prices for present day versus where we were 5 years ago. Big Macs on average up 21%. Medium-sized French fries up 44%. The company says if you really want to get the best deals, though, you should sign up for their reward apps because free French Fry Fridays. Who would not get excited about that? You can only get it through the app. Try to say that 10 times fast. I dare you.
Free French Fry Friday. That's it. I'm done. I give up.
Free French Fry Friday.
You got
free
it.
French
You're better than me.
Friday.
I think I'm
Free
pretty
French
good at
Fry
it.
Friday fryer. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, this morning, the president of McDonald's joined our colleagues exclusively on the Today Show to talk about this new deal and how McDonald's is handling the backlash over that pricing. Take a listen to some of what he said.
Restaurants don't cut prices for fun. Did consumers essentially force your hand by being fed up?
Yeah, I've zigzagged the country. I've been in our restaurants. I've sat in focus groups, and customers are telling us that they're really stretched. They're really stretched. They felt the stress of the inflation over the last few years, and so this is a great opportunity for McDonald's to bring them value. I know we're talking about these as the fast food wars. I think of them as the value and affordability wars because that's what our customers want.
Let's talk about the $5 deal, which makes people go, oh, cool, I'll go back to McDonald's for $5. And then you look at the time frame and it says a 4-week promotion. Why not just extend that through?
Yeah, we already see some franchisees are going to vote this further through, and they've already done so in places like Denver and Dallas and Phoenix and Las Vegas and Kansas City. And so what we really want to do is talk about this nationally for 4 weeks, and then we think it'll be a local promotion for longer than 4 weeks. And like the spot just said, you always have opportunities to go into your local McDonald's and find the local deals that they have, and the app offers great value every day.
Again, that $5 value meal is available starting today at participating McDonald's locations across the U.S. Well, coming up, escape to nature.
With visitors to the nation's national parks soaring to new highs, we've got all the advice you need to know if you're planning to go for a walk in the park this summer.
We are back, and so is a beloved on-screen mother-daughter duo. That's right, Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis are back together, filming Freaky Friday 2, the long-awaited sequel to the 2003 hit Disney movie. Well, Disney just released some behind-the-scenes photos and videos you're seeing here of the production. Lohan and Curtis are, of course, reprising their roles of Anna and Tess Coleman. And some of the original cast members, like Mark Harmon and Chad Michael Murray, are also expected to return. Freaky Friday 2 is set to be in theaters next year.
How did it happen again?
That movie is one that made me get really into guitar because remember she is really good on the electric guitar in that band. I thought it was so cool.
There you go. All right. Finally this hour, summer expected to be a busy one at national parks. The National Park Service says it saw more than 325 million recreational visits last year, an increase of 13 million from 2022.
So if you're planning to get out in nature and visit a national park this summer, we have got you covered. Joining us now on this is Cynthia Hernandez. She is a National Park Service spokesperson. Cynthia, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. So last year was the second busiest on record. More than half of those visits happened in the summer months, probably no surprise. So is it too late right now to start planning a summer trip? What are the top things we got to know?
Yeah, absolutely not. It's not too late to start planning a trip. What's most important is to plan the trip. So look online, go to our website and start planning. Research the park that you want to visit. How do you actually get there? What are the reservations like? Where are you going to sleep at night? And if you're going to camp, make sure you check out recreation.gov for any campsite reservations or other things that you might need. So definitely want to plan ahead and prepare. You want to make sure that you yourself are ready for whatever activity that you're going to do. So bringing water, checking the weather, bringing the right equipment if you're going to go biking or any sort of activity. Don't hike in flip-flops, okay? Bring sunscreen, bring a hat, and just make sure that you're ready and you can adapt to plan B. If it gets too hot, if you get rained out, if you haven't prepared for a 10-mile hike by, working out ahead of time, then maybe go for a plan B.
You mentioned the weather. Let's talk more about that. I mean, we're in the middle of this heat wave right now. July is supposed to be incredibly hot as well. So how are the parks preparing to welcome visitors in this heat, and what can everyone do to make sure that they stay healthy during these hot stretches?
Yeah, so we have water stations available. You can always stop by the visitor center to talk to a ranger, grab some water, grab a map, and get some ideas for trails with a lot of shade on them versus a trail with not a lot of trees and shade cover. How I like to plan a trip in the summer, though, is I like a nice scenic drive with my car's AC, picnic in the shade, and a stop at the visitor center to learn about the park. So there are tons of different types of park experiences you can do. Not all of them have to be a really strenuous and difficult 10, 15 mile hike. Even just a picnic in the park is totally valid, and we want to make sure that you take care of yourself. So if you get too hot, definitely turn around, get to AC, and call for help if you need it.
I have been to many a national park, and I can assure you I've never been on a 10 to 15 mile hike, so I can confirm. Other than the heat, we've just got about 30 seconds here or so, but what other safety tips should people keep in mind when they're in the park?
Yeah, for sure. So if it's hot. So if you go into the water, make sure that you know the water may look calm on the surface depending on what river or ocean you're going to. So make sure that you're aware of any sort of safety guidelines regarding getting in the water, boating. Definitely wear a life vest. If you're going swimming, make sure that you have someone watching you when you're swimming, watching the kids when they're swimming, and also let someone back home know what your trip plans are for that day and when they should hear back from you so they can call authorities if they don't hear back from you at a certain time.
And also the important thing in there, don't approach the wildlife, don't touch the wildlife, don't feed the wildlife, let them be. Observe them. Watch
Don't
them.
be the person
Take
in the
photos.
viral video from this summer. Yeah.
Cynthia Hernandez, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it, and have a great summer. It's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Don't go anywhere, though. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.